interview to get to now. We, for the first time, are getting a clearer picture of the impact of gangs right here in the Raleigh area. Yeah, this is a rare interview. A recently retired longtime gang investigator is opening up about the prevalence of gangs and how to stop them. WRAL Investigates Sarah Krueger is here now to shed light on this growing problem that's really affecting us all. We may not even know it. Sarah?
Deborah, a lot of times local law enforcement can be hesitant to talk about gangs. Maybe they don't want to give them notoriety. Maybe they don't want to scare people. But this longtime officer called gangs the #1 problem in this area.
Sometimes the signs are hidden in plain sight, like graffiti on the side of a building. Sometimes they're obvious in the form of shootings and murders. B.C. Sanders, a recently retired gang investigator who did work in the Wake County area, says a lot of the violence in our communities can be attributed to gangs.
I would say in probably the last 5 to 7 years, the majority of violent crime is linked somehow.
Sanders spent his career learning the ins and outs of gangs.
Are gangs a big problem in the Raleigh area?
20 years, I've always thought that was our #1 problem. I would say probably at least 50 different gang sets.
Raleigh's police chief weighed in a recent news conference.
How big a problem are gangs in the Raleigh area?
So we have a presence of gangs here in our city. I would not say, especially when I look across the spectrum at other cities, that we have a gang problem per se in Raleigh. I think we're probably like other cities where there's a presence of gangs and that we just need to make sure that we're monitoring and that we're staying on top of it.
Sanders says what's most stunning about gang workings here is how connected they are nationally and even internationally.
It would shock people.
If a young man in the Triangle area wants to join a gang, is it hard to figure out how to do that?
It's very easy. And you say young man, but females are recruited into the gang as well. So a lot of the rules have changed in the last 20 years.
He told me what else changed, like a trend of more rounds being fired in shootings. Where they used to find only a few shell casing, now there could be dozens. And often juveniles under 18 are being recruited and asked to do serious crimes, knowing because of their age, their punishments likely won't be as severe.
They're on a fast track to the grave or the hospital.
Sanders believes to try to stop gangs, law enforcement needs to make strategic arrests. When those charges can go federal with a longer sentence, that can help.
It continues to be a problem in Raleigh and even in rural North Carolina.
Mike Easley, U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of North Carolina, has made cracking down on gang violence one of his office's top priorities.
International cartels rely on American gangs to be their distribution source in the United States of America. And so I'm very concerned about the increase in the engagement of American gangs, to include those in Raleigh, engaged in fentanyl dealing and fentanyl trafficking, and the addiction and overdoses that causes.
Sanders says police and prosecutors can't do it alone. He believes gang members should not be dehumanized and instead should be seen as more than their affiliations.
Citizens, if you see a kid that needs help and they're in your neighborhood, you mentor them, you pull them aside, you do whatever. You show somebody love and respect, and that there's a different way.
Investigator Sanders was overall optimistic and kept things in a positive light. He said just because your city has gangs doesn't mean it's a bad place to live or a necessarily violent place to live either. Unfortunately, gangs are pretty much everywhere, so it's a common barrier to work to overcome. Deborah.
What a message he has. Sarah, thank you.